You euthanized a blind therapy pony without a licensed vet present, I said, staring into the lifeless eyes of the woman still clinging to her HOA badge like it was divine scripture. You just broke 5 state laws and I'm the one who wrote them. It began at 6:12 a.m., just as the sun crested the ridge, bathing the fields in golden mist. I was halfway through my second cup of strong black coffee on the porch of the ranch I'd spent the last decade building into a quiet sanctuary. Retirement had treated me well. The stress of emergency veterinary calls was behind me. My animals were safe, my hands were clean, and my mornings were quiet. The chickens were already scratching in the dust by the coop. The goats were bleating lazily, stretching after a night in the barn. My dogs Hooch, Cass, and Diesel lounged like royalty across the steps, soaking in the sun. Then I heard an engine. No, 3 engines. A convoy of white pickups roaring down the dirt road like it was a war zone. Dust filled the air in their wake. My peace shattered. I stood slowly, mug in hand, heart already picking up pace. I dealt with the Hollowbrook HOA before. Petty citations, passive-aggressive mailers. But this was something else. The truck screeched to a stop outside my gate. 6 people poured out. Navy polos, cheap knockoff tactical belts, sunglasses like they thought they were SWAT. One held a clipboard. One had a bullhorn. But the one in the front, the one with the crimson blazer and chopped bob haircut, stormed toward my fence like she owned the damn world. "Mr. Gideon Black," she said, her voice sharp enough to draw blood, "by order of the Hollowbrook HOA, your animals are in violation of local zoning and health ordinances. Immediate seizure authorized." I blinked, stunned. "You're dead wrong," I said calmly. "This is parcel 94D. Private. Unincorporated. Outside your HOA. Always has been." She grinned like a predator. "Not anymore," she said, waving a stapled stack of crumpled documents. Annexed under the Emergency Boundary Alignment Protocol. Voted in unanimously at last month's HOA meeting. "You're in now, Mr. Black. That means you're under us." My dogs rose, tense. I raised a hand to keep them back. "This land isn't even zoned residential. I've run licensed, state-certified therapy programs here for over a decade. That pony you're looking at? Blind. Registered therapy animal. Do you even have a vet with you?" She didn't answer. Just flicked her wrist. Chaos. 2 men rushed to the goats and began yanking them off the ground like sacks of grain, hauling them toward a trailer. One of the others threw a crate over Cass, my shepherd service dog, while Hooch barked like hellfire. Diesel snapped at their boots, drawing blood. No one stopped. No one cared. I ran toward them, but the woman stepped in my path and tapped her taser. "Touch me and it's assault," she said. "You've been warned." Then one of her people pulled out a paintball-style marker gun and fired into the chicken coop. The birds scattered, squawking in panic. One of the men kicked my blind pony Tango in the side and shouted, "Move it, freak!" I screamed. Actually screamed. I called the sheriff. The local deputy was already there, parked just beyond the gate, sipping gas station coffee like it was a tailgate party. "They can't do this," I yelled, pointing, panicking. "No warrant. No vet. No jurisdiction." He didn't even roll his window down. "They said they've got HOA authority," he muttered. "Not my lane." By the time I made it back to the barn, the trailer was already leaving. 3 of my goats. 2 of my hens. Tango. Gone. I followed them in my truck, filming every second. They didn't go to an animal hospital. They didn't go to county services. They drove straight to a makeshift compound behind the HOA clubhouse, white tents. Cheap fencing, generators humming. Syringes on plastic tables. Parked, ran to the gate. A man in a hoodie stopped me with a clipboard to the chest. "You can talk to the director. Animals deemed non-recoverable have already been processed." "Processed?" I asked, voice shaking. He didn't answer. At 9:47 a.m. I got the call. "Mr. Black," a shaky female voice said. "This is Hollowbrook Animal Wellness. We were instructed to spare one of your dogs. The rest didn't make it." The procedure was administered at approximately 8:15. I sat down right there on the curb, the phone still pressed to my ear, the sound of gravel shifting under my boots. I didn't cry. Not then. I just stared into space. I could still hear Tango's bell from the day before, could still see Killian, 9 years old, trauma survivor, brushing his mane and whispering, "He's the only thing that makes me feel better." They killed him. They killed Cass. and they were walking around acting like they'd done something noble. When I got home, I opened the filing cabinet I hadn't touched in over a year. The smell of old leather and formaldehyde hit me like an old friend. My laminated ID badge still sat there. So did the framed plaque, Colorado State Director of Veterinary Welfare and Compliance. I stared at myself in the reflection of the window, Cass's collar in my hand. You just euthanized animals protected under State Statute 61.14, I whispered. You need a court order, a licensed vet, an agency sign-off. I wrote that law. Outside, Diesel sat by the gate, quiet. Hooch whimpered on the porch. Somewhere in the woods, a chicken clucked faintly. I stood up. Slowly. I wasn't just a farmer anymore. I was activated. And they had no idea what storm they'd just unleashed. By sundown, I had a plan. My phone buzzed with responses from old colleagues across 3 counties. By midnight, I had secured a state-level emergency order to initiate a preliminary investigation. My property? Their fake paperwork. Their unlawful use of euthanasia drugs. I didn't sleep. I mapped out parcel boundaries using county overlays and pulled deed archives showing my property had never ever fallen under their jurisdiction. By morning, I was in the county office, speaking with a clerk named Margot who'd known me since the 90s. She confirmed everything. Parcel 94D had never been annexed. Their maps were falsified. The HOA's realignment wasn't even filed with the county. They forged it. And it wasn't just me. Margot showed me flagged notes on other properties within a 30-mile radius. Therapy llamas, mini horses, pot-bellied pigs seized. Gone. Pressured families. Vacated homes. It was a pattern. I met with Dr. Nora Delgado, who now ran the pathology lab at the local university. She ran a toxicology scan on Henrietta escape artist hen who I'd found dazed under the porch. Full autopsy? She asked. Do it, I said. And check for anything banned. She nodded. And I'll testify when the time comes. That night, I visited my friend Grade, former cybercrimes investigator turned off-grid tech guru. I gave him footage from the seizure, access codes to the HOA's public network, and their newsletter archive. Need it all traced, enhanced, and backed up, I said. He grinned. This is gonna be fun. The next day, we met at the diner. He'd pulled surveillance from inside the HOA clubhouse. Kara the blazer-wearing tyrant was caught on camera joking while holding a syringe. This'll shut him up. One jab, poof, no more barking, no more goat drama. I froze. Grady zoomed in. The label read Kazine 420. A banned compound. Caused prolonged suffering. Pulled from circulation 5 years ago. More footage. Emails. One from Karen to another board member. If Black makes noise, call him sentimental. No one takes a goat guy seriously. They would now. I sent everything to the state board. They launched a disciplinary inquiry immediately. Within hours, a cease and desist was issued. The fake task force? Disbanded. Their compound? Sealed. But the threats began. A silver sedan sat across from my driveway. When I approached, it sped off. The next day, a brick was left on my porch. A note tied to it. Stop digging. Or it's your house next. Dan set up facial recognition cams. The sheriff launched a threat investigation. Nora called. Gideon, she said, we found something else in Henrietta's blood. A black market sedative. Strong enough to paralyze without killing. I froze. You think they staged the deaths? It's possible, she said. Some of them might still be alive. The hope hit me like a tidal wave. That night, Dan and I drove to the old compound quietly. The main structure was empty. But the outbuilding wasn't. Inside, crates, sedatives, notes. A whiteboard. Processed 18. Hold for pickup 6. Photos. One was Tango. Another Cass. Timestamped days after the raid. Alive. Possibly trafficked. I called the federal task force. Gave them everything. They linked the HOA to an illegal animal distribution ring. What started as compliance became profit. Theft became trafficking. The last clue came from property records. Karen owned a remote 14-acre plot near Lake Roscoe. I'd heard the rumor. Hidden. Unregistered. Untaxed. But satellite imagery showed something else. Steel structures, tire marks, fencing. That's where they were. I packed light. Dan stayed behind. Just me, Hooch, and a flashlight. We arrived just past midnight. The smell hit me first, antiseptic and despair. Dozens of enclosures. Whimpering. Bleeding. I called out. And then I saw him. Cass. Skin and bones? But alive. He limped toward the gate, collapsed into my arms. Tango, I whispered, spotting the pony in the far stall. Still blind. Still breathing. I broke every lock. Let the animals out. Then came voices. Armed men. Flashlights. I ducked. Waited. Moved fast. Federal backup came 10 minutes later. Sirens, agents, orders barked into the trees. One of the men was tackled trying to flee. The other surrendered. Karen emerged from the porch like a movie villain. Long coat. Wild eyes. You're trespassing, she spat. You euthanized therapy animals, I said. You kidnapped, tortured, and trafficked them. And you almost got away with it. She tried to spin. Smirk. Talk circles. Didn't matter. She was cuffed on the spot. Inside, they found ledgers. Receipts. A map of expansion targets. Casino orders. Sales records. 32 animals were recovered. Some were mine. Some had been gone for months. Others were strangers, victims of a system that wore a badge with no right to wear it. Karen's trial came fast. Fraud. Impersonation. Trafficking. Cruelty. 25 years. No parole. Her assets were liquidated. Her estate became the foundation for the RIP. Act named for my shepherd. The law made it a felony to seize animals without proper authorization. HOA power was checked. A task force was created. My ranch became a sanctuary again. Tango roamed freely. Cass stayed close. Hooch welcomed guests. And every night I'd whisper the names of the ones we lost. They thought I was just an old man with goats. They didn't know I was the storm,